All right. Thank you for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenhard. Today we have Shay Trask, which is one of our top producing agents within Naples Real Producers. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So Shay's actually a realtor with Gulf Coast International Property. He is a top producing agent in such a short amount of time, which we'll get into later. And he's here in Naples for as long as Shay is pretty much remembered. He believed his destiny was for a career in real estate. Shay was born and raised in Iowa, where he had a chance to witness his father design, build homes, and develop new neighborhoods. So it's kind of been in his DNA, I guess, from the get-go. He got a degree in real estate from the University of Northern Iowa in 2013, got his real estate license, and began building his sales business up in Iowa. But in 2019, he decided it was a little too cold probably, and he decided to move down here and move to sunny Naples. He's been enjoying what the city has to offer since then. So welcome, Shay. You've obviously been crushing in such a short amount of time. Huge kudos to you. Why did you come down here? Tell us a little bit about growing up in Iowa and just a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on the podcast today. This is awesome. It's an honor.
Yeah.
A little bit about me. I grew up in Iowa. My dad owned a lumberyard for my entire life, so grew up around houses, designing houses, helping people build them, what they sell for, things like that. So just kind of a natural tendency to go towards homes. Didn't know how that was going to play long-term in my life, but as I got further into college and started to go down career paths, it just seemed like real estate was the right fit.
That's awesome. I guess if I was born and raised in always doing it, right? Like you have all these families that have something, like a great family, and they're fishing, right? They're like out in the Northeast or Northwest, and they're all fishing. Everyone fishes, right? Like, I mean, if you're in it, you're kind of like you're already born and raised doing the acts of what you would do on a normal basis. If it's someone like a mechanic, I feel like the kids are always like tinkering and messing around. So yeah. It's in your blood. That's cool. So what was the big push to come down here?
I actually went to the University of Tampa for college my freshman year. Loved it, but long story short, went back to Iowa to finish out my college time. And always loved Naples. I had a good friend that was from Naples, so from Tampa we came down to Naples a lot. And it was just one of those places that kind of felt like a Midwest vibe, good people, great city, just built well, and good layout with the beach, the weather, and great economy. So over time, I just always felt like I wanted to come back to Naples. But there's always the roots that you put down in Iowa, growing up there, having family, everything else. So it was an easy start for me up there, but I always felt like I wanted to leave and go somewhere else. And after being in real estate for about 5 years up there, 3 years in, I kind of knew I needed to get to a bigger city or a different area. So started exploring that and actually did like spreadsheets on the weather, spreadsheets on what houses cost, like just
you are a spreadsheet guy.
Yeah, I like numbers. I like analyzing things. And after analyzing everywhere in the United States, Naples came back as my #1 spot. I already had a pretty good friend group down here, and I knew I liked the area, so I said, let's give it a shot. Worst case scenario is I don't like it in a year and I try something else, but best case scenario is it's everything I thought it was, and it just starts building from there.
That's amazing. So what do you think with that transition? How long do you think it really took for you to feel like Naples was home?
There's a few different aspects of that. I had a good friend group down here before I even came down here. So that transition of just knowing people, going places, doing things was very easy, very seamless. I had a lot of good friends that we connected well far before I ever moved down here officially. So we've always stayed in touch, and it's always been fun every time we hang out. It's, those friends where you meet up after 5 years and it's like you knew them for, 5 days ago.
Yeah, right.
So
that's the difference. That's males, right? Females, they talk all the time. Males, you go I swear a year, and I'm like, hey, how are you? You catch up, and it's like you're cracking jokes and you're telling stories. I mean, it's just I think we're wired different.
Yeah, I agree. So that was really easy to build, like the friendship group again. do things with people and kind of go see that stuff. The real estate side took a little bit longer. Coming from a different market, you have to learn neighborhoods, you have to learn different areas, why things are good, why things are bad. Here we have canals, and you can't see into the canal, so you don't know, is that one 2 feet deep? Is that one 10 feet deep?
Yeah.
Learning things like that, and then just the general area of roads and pricing too. The pricing scale down here, basically from Iowa to here, was adding a 0 to everything, which was a pretty easy scale to learn, but it's intimidating at first. When you move from a smaller market, you're dealing with the biggest sale we had the year I left was about $750,000, and it was a beautiful house, 8,000 square feet on a lake, game room, huge garage, just incredible house, 3 staircases. Down here,
I wish. I know. The only reason everyone that's listening, I'm laughing. I'm from Wisconsin, so I hear you on this. I go back and I look sometimes. I'm like, really, you could get that? You can't even get a shack down here. You can't get even just dirt.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So then coming down here, that same house is at least 7 million, 7.8 million. So. 750,000, add the 0, you're 7.5 million. That seems about right.
That's funny. So what's your ideal, 2,000 square feet, this, and this, what's your budget? Okay, just add a 0 and we're in the ballpark.
Exactly.
So,
but that has made it difficult coming from Iowa a little bit. My whole clientele from up there basically got scrapped when I moved down here.
Right.
Because if you're affording that up there, it's just really hard to transition down here. And I have had a few Iowa clients, and they've been great. I love that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a different world down here. And so you're pulling from a different buyer demographic, which is all new.
Right. How do you I didn't mean to interrupt, but how do you get their mindset switched? If they're coming down and they're expecting, let's say, a 2,500, 3,000 square foot house for $500,000 in a great community, and that's just not possible, right? And then they ask, I also would like boating access. I'd like to be on the water.
Yeah.
What have you found to for tricks and tips in that sense of how do you get them off that mindset or get them in a reality check?
A lot of times it's just the time and education. So to come down here with your dream list, especially when people retire and they're we've had this house on our radar for 10 years. It's this beautiful 3,000 square foot house. It's going to cost $750,000, beautiful pool, all this stuff. And that house is now 1.5 million, out away from the beach. They come down here, they have these high expectations for what they think they're going to get. But over those 10 years, the price goes up. So a lot of it's taking that time of resetting themselves and saying, okay, do we want to focus more on the budget that we used to have, or do we want to focus more on what our dream house was? And does that mean that we stay working for another 2 years to get there? Does that mean that we just forego the budget and move it up? But a lot of it starts with them thinking about what their biggest priorities are. And then it just takes time to see oh no, that $750,000 house isn't that anymore. What do? Do we give stuff up, or do we just spend more? Is this our dream? Is this where we want to be?
Or are you going to compromise, right?
Yeah.
You gotta come down on something, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha. All right. I know you. You're the biggest car guy I think I know. So let's talk about that for a second, because knowing you and knowing your car kind of passion has actually also grown your business, right? It's connected you with a lot of people and stuff. So you remember the Paradise Porsche Club, correct?
Yep.
And so tell us a little bit about your passion for cars, and did that start when you were young, or what kind of got you into the car market?
Yeah, so I've always been motivated. My dad told me when I was a little kid, if you want to work for something, if you want something, you work for it. So my very first story ever that I tell a lot of people is I wanted a Super Nintendo. Always wanted one. It was $100. I found it. I was like, Dad, I need this Super Nintendo. He's like, well, we had a development at the time with, I think there were 13 lots left. He goes, $3 a lot. When you do the math, you're a math kid. when can you afford it? And I was like, well, I've got to mow 33 lots to get to 99, so 34, and I'll get my $100. He's like, all right, I'll pay for the gas, I'll pay for the mower, everything. It's just $3 every time you mow a lot. Well, I mowed like the lots every other day.
You're like, son, they didn't need to be mowed.
Yes. So I showed up like a week later, and I had I had my little check marks on my sheet saying like, I mowed 34 times. He's like, what? Like, I did not expect this for a few weeks. But long story short, he always taught me to work for what I want, and then when you have the money, go buy it. Mm-hmm. And that lesson actually kept going as I loved to drive anything when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So if I had a bike, golf cart, I even took my mom's car around the block a few times before I probably should have. But I was always motivated to buy my first car. And so that kind of started that like passion of, if you work hard, you can get this reward. And that was kind of like my first trophy, if you will.
Yeah.
So I started working, I think I was 8 years old when I started collecting for my first car, and I had a picture of a blue Camaro at the time.
Yeah.
And I wanted it so bad. My neighbor had one, like, loved the car. And then by the time I actually started saving up, then, kind of budget increased a little bit because I just kept working, but I couldn't even drive yet. And that's really what, like, spawned kind of my whole work ethic behind just work, and then also want to get nicer things. And then the car thing, it's been such a connector for me. Like once you get a car in a certain group, then you connect with all these like-minded people that also like cars. And I also think that it's taken me a lot of places. Like I've been all over the country in cars, seeing things that you don't see when you hit an airplane and you just go from point A to point B. You miss a lot of that.
Right.
And being in the car, like to me, part of the experience going somewhere is the car. So like last summer I had a wedding out in Napa. Most people would fly to San Francisco, rent a car, take an Uber out to Napa.
Right.
I flew to Vegas, rented a car, drove through Death Valley, and put like 2,000 miles on a car in 5 days while going to the wedding. And it was fun. Like you connected with people on the way, saw all sorts of cities. And it's been a passion of mine to meet people. And I don't really know what spawned the initial driving and car thing.
Probably Fast and the Furious, right?
That too, for sure.
I feel like that sparked the car industry that it is today from all of us kids when we were younger, seeing it and being like, "Ooh, I want that one," right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. So, you've from the standpoint of traditional cars, you also have a very unique truck, a Rivian, which is a fully electric one. And I always thought that was interesting too, from a standpoint of like, you're a car guy, but you're very forward thinking. I see your posts and different things like that. You're always kind of like thinking ahead and future and that kind of thing. So tell us a little bit about that Rivian and why you like it. Cause a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do electric or whatnot. And I know realtors in general, like a lot of them are going kind of electric just because they're great. You plug them in, they're always full charge and you run around all day or whatnot. But what's your thoughts on electric and why do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy like new things, different things. And that's one reason why I ordered that truck was because I actually ordered it. It took 966 days from when I hit order.
He wasn't counting you guys, remember? He doesn't have Excel documents or
No. I actually went back to look because after like a while, you're like, okay, how long has this really been? And so I went back and looked, and the day I put $1,000 deposit on getting your thing was 966 days to when they pull up with a flatbed truck and they unload it in your driveway. And they're like, cool. Here's your new truck. Have fun. It's like no dealership experience, nothing. It was just showed up and here you go. And I'd actually had a Tesla before. And part of why I got the Tesla was because it was taking so long to get the truck that I just wanted to experience electric a little bit. And I also am a big supporter of Elon and just his forward thinking of everything he's done for the car community, outside of anything else political and Twitter and all that stuff.
I was going to say, still, there's a lot of controversy.
Yeah. No, so like
hey, he's still doing great things. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, he's excelled the world in a lot of pluses, right? No one's
Absolutely.
perfect, but I think he was running like 100% for a while, right? Like
Yeah.
there was nothing really people could really get mad at him for, and now maybe there could be, but
Yeah.
that's for another discussion, right?
Yeah, but when he started, I think like Tesla came out in 2012-ish. I mean, there was nobody even thinking about electric, and all of a sudden he hits a home run with this car, hits another home run with an SUV, and now he's got 4 different cars out there that people love.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to support him as well, and Teslas have low depreciation. They resell really well, so I thought, let's try it out. So I tried that, loved it, and then I got rid of that when I knew the Rivian was getting really close to showing up. And having that has been really cool. It's been so different, and it's gotten attention in such a positive way. I've been really fortunate with a lot of my friend group and stuff to drive some really cool cars. And even showing up on Fifth Avenue in a bright blue Ferrari doesn't hold a candle to showing up in a Rivian, you know, back
Electric
in
truck,
May,
yeah.
June, July. Like, people literally are hitting each other on the arm. Like, what is that? Like,
Yeah. Well, it looks like the front end, the lights and everything, it looks so different.
yeah. I often get, is that a spaceship? And like, what kind of UFO is that? That's like, I don't think it looks that different to me anymore.
Well, you're also used to it, but it is look different. I mean, the front end, everything, it's bold. You know, the light across. I don't know. It is different. It is, and then it's silent, right? Like,
yeah. It's very weird to hear a truck and all you hear is the tire noise. Like, and it's really fast. So like when you launch it, because it's going back to like a car guy, right? Like you get rid of the motor and you're kind of like missing an aspect of the car.
Oh, for sure.
But it makes this little whine noise, almost like a turbo or like a little RC car when you're driving. And then you hear the tires because it's just like trying to rip them off the road when you're going fast. And that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I do still enjoy like cars with engines. So that's a great daily driver. And I see why so many realtors love it, because you can pull up quietly, do all that fun stuff. But you still need like a fun car to make some noise.
You got to, right? I mean, that's the whole point of like cars back in the day, was the rumble, the exhaust, like all that fun stuff. So tell me, what do you recommend to someone that's moving to Naples? Attractions, places, like, you know, maybe even clients that are coming down, you know, why with them moving down here, like, you know, what would you recommend to them?
Yeah, so I think that Florida in general has so many different areas of it, so many different things you can do. Like, there is a part of Florida for everybody. And the big one that we always get from people is Miami versus Naples. That's like a huge one. Why move there versus the other one? And Miami's kind of your place to get a little crazy. It's a big city. But over in Naples, it's quieter. It's a little bit simpler of a life. And the big things I look forward to are, you know, nights out on Fifth Avenue, just great dinners, people watching, good atmospheres. When you're over in Miami, you hear, you know, cars revving, things going by. And it's funny when you're out to eat in Naples for dinner, if you hear somebody rev or go by, it gets like a funny look. Like, they're not from here. Or
Right.
they're not, like, what are they doing?
Or they're like super, like, let's say young.
Yeah.
Or, I hate to stereotype, but usually not a nice car that's just really loud, right?
Yeah.
And they just want to, like, look at me, you know,
Get
like
some attention.
yeah, exactly. Like, because usually the car before and the car after that are like 10 times the value with 3 times the power and whatnot, and they're just quiet and just minding their own business. That's so true.
Yeah, I just feel like there's like a level of sophistication there. And the cops patrol it pretty well. Like, I saw somebody in a motorcycle the other day going up and down revving, and it took one time up and back, and he was pulled over and talked to about it. And it's just, I like that about Naples, and I think that's part of why Naples has been so successful over the past 2 or 3 years, especially, is because when people wanted safety and they wanted a place where they could go out, and especially people with expensive cars, you want to go out, you want to park, and you want to just feel like you can get out of your car, walk to any restaurant, and there's not a care in the world.
Right.
And that's really hard to duplicate in a lot of other cities.
For sure.
Really hard.
They do a wonderful job on keeping it safe. You know, there's always going to be crime no matter where you go, but they do a very good job at mitigating it. You know, and they also just do a good job because there is going to be crime no matter what. Like I just said that, but like it's how people feel, right? Like for, you know, in any standpoint, there's always going to be, you know, something that's happening, but how's the reaction from it? And like you said, everyone feels good walking around. It's a safe, you know, community and all that kind of stuff. So I agree. That's one of the things when I describe it to other people that are not from here and they say House Naples, I say it's great, it's beautiful, it's safe. Yeah. You know, that's an important thing.
Yeah, and that's a huge point of moving to Naples for me is I wanted a good home base. And I'm 32 now, still single at this moment. But
ladies? Just kidding. That's a shout out right there. Let's come on, whoever's watching this, right? Let's set them up.
Yeah, but
gosh, now I gotta made them all right, everyone. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
But moving forward is like thinking about having a family and kids. It's like you want some place that's safe and a great place to call home base. And Naples is fantastic because when you leave here and you go on vacation, you're super excited to go on vacation all the time. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I can't wait to get to Colorado and go skiing, or I can't wait to go to the Bahamas or wherever you're going. You get there and there's like 3 days of this is awesome. But a lot of times you're like, I wouldn't mind a second house here. But before, like when I was living in Iowa, everywhere you'd go, you'd be like, maybe I should move here. Maybe I should move here. Mm-hmm. And now that I live in Naples, everywhere I go, I'm like, maybe a second house here would be cool. But I want to go back to Naples to live, like your daily.
Couldn't agree more. And honestly, after that 3 or 5 days, I'm excited to go back home.
Yes.
Growing up in the Midwest, especially when it was winter and I was going somewhere warm, I was not excited to go back home.
No.
I was looking at the temperatures and I'd get off that plane and that jet bridge would open up and I'd go, oh my God, why do I live here? I am excited. And it's not just the warmth. You know, we always talk about that.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like, I want to come back. It's, you know, like you said, it's safe, everything like that, but it's good places to get food or this or that. Like, you know, there's so many good things about it. So I couldn't agree with you more on that one.
Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with like our density is pretty low. When you look at big cities comparable to us, especially Miami again, they're just so dense. They've got these high-rise buildings everywhere. And Naples is set up to not have high density close to the beach. And so there's a lot of stuff like even we do have more traffic during season, but it's still not that bad comparable to other cities.
I think it's bad because we're all spoiled if you live here and off season it's like a ghost town and you have 3 lanes to get around anyone. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
You can just like not like zip around like in like a standpoint of like speeding or anything, but like if someone's like kind of in your way, you can just go around them because it's big open roads because no one's here. Yep. So when season comes and then they're all busy, like they really should be in a sense. We're all like, ugh, you know, grass is always greener on the other side kind of thing. Like we just are spoiled.
Yeah. And to me, it's kind of great because Naples changes throughout the year.
Yeah.
Which makes it almost like you live in 2 different cities. Mm-hmm. So you get this like bustling city January to May where it's hard to get a reservation. But when you go out, you get to see a ton of different people from all over the country, all over the world.
Really. Yeah.
And then in the summer, it's quieter. But you can get reservations. You can go, you know, out on the boat and not feel guilty that, you know, you need to be doing open houses every day of the week.
Yep.
So
exactly.
I love that aspect of it. And to get back to your initial question, like what do people do? I think there's like Celebration Park is a great spot for like lunch, sandals, shorts, hang out, burger, fries, all sorts of different food there. It's great when you have a big group of people.
Yeah.
And you don't know
what people want to eat and stuff.
Yeah. It's great for that.
And it's by the water. There's a great bar, usually some music. I mean, when people kind of like from an outside looking at Florida, like, I want to go down there. I want to enjoy some food, drinks, sunny. It'll be water. I mean, it hits checks a lot of boxes, right?
Yeah. Almost everybody that comes down, I take them to Celebration at some point. From there, you know, you've got the JW Marriott in Marco Island is a great day experience.
For sure.
Like great sunset restaurant. The beach is right there. I love doing that as like a day trip. And then we already talked about 5th Avenue, but 3rd Street's great too. Oh,
3rd's a hidden gem, I think. A lot of people, you know, do 5th, but they forget how great 3rd is.
Yeah.
You know, some great restaurants, even great shopping places. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of shopping, I mean, Waterside Shops is a great experience for people that are looking for shopping, especially high-end stuff that, again, coming from Iowa, I don't think some of those stores even exist in the state. Like even in Des Moines, the biggest city, they're not there.
No. I was a little spoiled because I was like right by Minneapolis and I could go to Mall of America.
There you go.
But like, so I'm a little bit used to it. But yeah, and I mean, now after college, being up in North Dakota where nothing existed, I was like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
It has, you have the reach. And if you really need something else from like even bigger standpoint, you know, like for example, they got rid of Nordstrom's or whatever. Or like, you know, people are like, oh, I'd love a Neiman Marcus or something like that. You know, Miami. It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not that far. You know,
Yeah.
it's a straight shot. So it's, you know, quick zip over there. So.
Yeah, and to go back to like Naples being home base, 2 hours away is one of the craziest cities in the country. So if you do it, you don't have to take a flight. You don't have to do anything. Just book a hotel.
Yep.
You can go for one night, drive over, have fun, and then come back. And it's like super close. Like nothing happened. You want to just switch it up and just get a little bit more lively. It's so easy to do.
100%. So, Shay, I know you can't believe it, but we're already out of time. This was great conversation. Appreciate all the insight that you helped out for the listeners and everyone listening here. So, great having you on. Thank you, Shay. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah. So as always, RP Experience is extremely thrilled to have you on here. We're here in the Venture X. We're here at Venture X in the podcast studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. See you guys.